Hey guys, what's up? Pitmarthrow here, and welcome back to Let's Play Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. In the last episode, you'll have to forgive me as I try to recall, because it has been a little while since I've recorded this, and if you haven't seen my update video or watched the latest Mario Sunshine video, which was Serena Beach, then I'll be telling you why relatively shortly. But in the last episode, we had to deal with a very annoying map involving the Raven King himself, Naysala, and after convincing him to leave the battlefield with the help of the King's aides, as well as Rayson himself, the Heron Prince, we were able to get him to leave the battlefield, and after getting killed by that Swordmaster on my first take, we're able to dispatch him successfully. So, as we continue through the awfulness that is winter in this game, it's actually been quite nice here. That's the perk of living in Texas. Ike and crew are headed towards the Dayan capital in order to secure it. So, yeah, it's actually been surprisingly nice here. It's been like 60s and 70s, so for anybody that's having snow or really cold weather, have fun with that. I'm not a winter person at all. Chapter 20, Defending Talrega. Now, first and foremost, as Soren and Ike are talking here, couple things to make note of. Number one, and hopefully this won't immediately have everybody click off the video, I am post-commentating this for two reasons. One, the commentary on the original video was both in sound, because for whatever reason I didn't have the USB plugged all the way in, both in sound and what I was actually talking about was complete and utter garbage. I mean, it was bad. Like, I could not think of anything to say. I didn't even bother to talk about what I said I was going to in Mario Sunshine in this video. I didn't go over that. It just all around was not very good. So, we're gonna be having a little bit of cut and paste here, so if it seems like stuff is kind of mixed around, that's probably why. Moving back to the actual story here for a moment, as you can see, we also figured out, or Volk told us, rather, the story about how Ike's mother was killed, how Grail went from being one of the four riders of Dayan to trying to lead a simple life, how he was hunted by other pursuers because of the trinket that Mist has, which is actually a medallion that is very, very important, and most people even touching it would send them into madness, but thankfully Mist has a very strong balance between power and chaos inside of her, and so she is able to hold it safely. So, like I said, audio quality was complete garbage, but anyway, yeah, moving back on to what I was saying before the audio on this turns out to be garbage as well. If you see a few cuts here and there, it is more than likely because I am taking out a lot of spots where I was literally just sitting there trying to figure out what I was doing next. And it wasn't really because this map is difficult. This map's actually pretty easy. But we'll be getting into that when the map actually starts. So, I'd say future me is going to have fun editing this, but I'm going to get to work on editing it right after I'm done commentating here, and boy, is there a lot to commentate. You guys can't see it on the video timer because this is just the raw file, but I am going to have to be voice commentating this, you know, unless I know I'm cutting something out, for 1 hour and 28 minutes. And we're at about 3 minutes 40 seconds in, so I'm in it for the long haul for certain. And it's also about 4:30 in the morning, so yeah, I couldn't sleep for whatever reason. I guess I don't know if it was on my mind or what, but I got some coffee here, so hopefully that'll help. Regardless, we have a little bit of a conversation going on here, and by a little bit I mean a relatively important one. As you can see, Patrine, who's one of the four riders, is talking with the commanding officer that we'll be fighting in this chapter. And it's also important to note that these specific soldiers are actually not from Dayan originally. They're originally from Benyon, and then they, for whatever reason, traveled to Dayan and have been here for, I believe he said 17, 18 years. So, you know, pretty long time to serve a country, but even now people are just finally starting to accept them. But it appears they're opening the floodgates, which you can pretty much already tell where this is going, because you can see the general was very hesitant to do so, and only did so because, you know, you have to do what your commanding officer says, not because he wants to do it. Regardless, we are now in the base camp. So, I did check this the last time I recorded. I stopped the recording, and then out of curiosity, I went ahead and checked forward to see if the all-important, that is the only thing I've been caring about apparently, if the all-important Jill Leith support had gotten to A. The answer to that question was no, it did not. And it also turns out that it was for good reason, because you cannot get them to A support, judging by the actual conversation in the A support. You cannot get A support with them until this map is finished. So, next map we very well might be seeing it, but for this map, no. So, I'll talk more about into why I was doing that whenever we actually get into the map, because it's a little bit of a mess. Right now we're talking to a woman whose name is Khalil, or this, whatever it is, the conversation, I guess that's what we'll just call it, the conversation with woman. And so, whenever Khalil shows up, she will basically act like she is all that, and you can choose to either hire her or don't hire her. Obviously, hiring her recruits her. She is a mage, like she said. For whatever stupid reason, despite the fact she claims to be very smart, she picked knives for her class-up ability and not healing staves. Why? I don't know. That's one of the problems with pre-promotes, can be their stats, but a lot of the pre-promote sages picked knives for their weapon. It's really stupid, and that was a nice little lisp right there. Picked knives for whatever stupid reason and did not pick the healing staff, which is clearly the smarter of the two options. Why they did that, I couldn't tell you. But yeah, for somebody that's apparently supposed to be very smart, she made a rather stupid mistake there. I may mute that part of the track right there. That was my chair squeaking a bunch as I got up and moved, because I realized upon recruiting Khalil, I'm going to need to pull up her stats for you. I tried to type in Khalil and it said Fire Emblem Soul Calibur. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not. I like the Soul Calibur series. That's not what we're playing right now. There are fights involved, but this is not a fighting game. This is very much a turn-based strategy game. Not even close. So, in this case, we're having a conversation with Rayson, going back to what's being played on my screen right now. This is going back to talking about how herons are very, very frail creatures, cannot engage in combat, but they do have useful abilities, but Rayson kind of defies the norm. The norm for a heron is what you saw with Leanne back in chapters, 15, 16. They're supposed to be very frail, delicate creatures, and Rayson growing up with the Hawks, or, spending a lot of time with the Hawks in recent years, it's kind of made him not seem like that as much. So, I believe now is when I went to go check on Khalil's stats, making sure I didn't forget anybody else's. And it looks like it did not. So, Khalil is a level 6 Sage. As I mentioned, she already has a pre-promote, which is something you kind of have to watch out for. Honestly, when it comes to pre-promotes, some of them are actually really good, but some of them are bad. You'll notice that her weapon level, she can use fire, wind, and lightning spells, and they are all ranked B, so this makes her a very good candidate for getting any high-level spell in any of those departments that you want. She also does come with Nihil, so enemy skills will not be counted, they will be negated. Her growth rates are, I'm going to assume that's not going to scroll over anytime soon, it very well might. HP 50%, Strength 25%, Magic Skill and Speed are all 45%, Luck is 30%, Defense is 40%, and Resistance is 35%. So, with those stats in mind, like I mentioned, she is pre-promoted Sage, she does wield knives, which is kind of stupid. Again, I honestly don't know why she did that. If I could scroll back down, I would appreciate it, because I think there was something else I wanted to mention. Oh, no, never mind. She has relatively well-rounded stats in every stat except for HP, which, for sages usually isn't that big a deal, but, it might be. Really, she can be suitable for using spells. Just keep in mind, she's going to be a lot more frail than any sages you've trained up, more than likely. She will definitely be more frail than Soren will. Probably, if you get a good Ileana, she'll be more frail than Ileana. She will be better than Tormod, because everybody's better than Tormod, let's be honest. But really, the thing I would say, if I had to pick a reason no for not putting her in my top 3 for, just overall, if I could get her all the mages to level 20 sages, it'd be because she picked knives. She does come with a very important spell, though. This is Meteor. We've already seen this before whenever you're going through the swamp. This is a long-range fire magic spell, so if you are using Soren or anybody else, in my case it's Soren, but anybody else for a fire mage, and you don't want her to be a fire mage or you're not going to use her, you can take this Meteor skill and give it to somebody else. When it comes to long-range spells, I haven't talked about this much. We've seen them here and there, but we haven't gotten to really use any. I believe we might have picked up one, but it might have been a light spell, and the only person that can learn light magic is Reese, so it obviously went to waste. When it comes to them, it's kind of 50-50. You can save them for the very last chapter, and they will come in handy, but generally what I find is on endgame chapters, especially the last one, more often than not, but at that point your mages have pretty much taken over as being your healers. So for the final level, I would recommend at least 2 healers. And I would not say Mist and Reese, I would say Mist and Soren, or Mist and Ileana, you know, and just the second that your mage gets to Sage, just start working on that healing constantly and try to get their weapon level up to C, which is what you need for the Physics Staff, which is your long-range healing. Right here I'm basically just transferring out weapons, you know, if anything's close to running out of uses, then I'm replacing it with one that doesn't have that issue. So that's pretty much all I'm doing here. As this is going through, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it now because it seems like it'd be better to put it in this first part rather than the later part. And one other thing before I get started on that, I am going to promote Mist here, so I'm using my bonus experience to get Mist to her second class, which is very useful, and you'll see why immediately whenever you see her class change. The reason that I've been so slow on updates, not just for Fire Emblem, because I need to re-record this, but I had been for, you know, like 2 weeks. There was that break where there just wasn't anything at all. And then, you know, I posted that update video. If you didn't watch that, or if you did not watch the Mario Sunshine videos that came out just before this one, basically what happened is I've been having computer issues for a little. I had been having. They're not now. Now it runs fine. I've been having issues with my hard drive or my C drive, whatever you want to call it. If you're not computer savvy, this may not make any sense at all to you. But I've been having issues with the hard drive. There was a lot of times where programs were just turning on and shutting off by themselves. There was a lot of excess stuff constantly running in the background, and when I closed it, it would just reopen by itself, and it was just stuff like that, and it was just piling on. There was more stuff getting in the way, and it was just getting progressively worse and worse. And I had a feeling, thankfully, before it happened, that my hard drive was going to crash pretty soon. And so I took everything that I possibly could and moved it all in my external drive. I have an external drive that's about 2 terabytes of memory, so plenty of, you know, anything video-wise, editing-wise, anything I needed to move on there, I moved on there, and then sure enough, within like 2 hours of me doing that, sure enough, my hard drive crashed. So I got pretty lucky to have a sixth sense about it of sorts. And so it ended up crashing. So I call into a place it's relatively far across town, but with the loop it takes probably about, I'm going to say 20 minutes to get there, maybe 25, depending on how bad traffic is. So I called them about it just to kind of get an estimate. They said, of course, naturally, as you would expect, it's easier to actually get an estimate whenever you're looking at the machine itself. So I had brought it in and said, you know, if you can salvage the hard drive, cool. If you have to replace it, that's what I would expect, and that's perfectly fine. So just let me know either way. And so they ended up replacing it. I've actually got the old one on my desk. Heck if I know what I'm going to do with it, but it's just laying here. It'll make a great coaster, I'm sure. But whenever that happened, as you guys know, for those of you that are watching this, you know, relatively recently, the update for Windows 10 is still free. And for anybody wondering, not that it's important, the update will no longer be free after July of 2016. So if you've got any machines that run Windows 7 or 8 and you want to upgrade them to 10 for free, you've got to do it before July. I don't know what day in July. It might be the start of July, but that's around the time you got. So you got roughly, let's see, what, 4 months? We'll just estimate here, about 4 months. It's the 19th of February when I'm recording this. It's about 4:30 in the morning, so just put an estimate in there. I'd say about that long. And here you're seeing, going back to the game momentarily, this is why Mist's promotion was very, very important, because she gets a horse. Well, not so much that she gets a horse, but she gets +3 in movement, and that helps tremendously for a healer. So she's got good movement. She gets the ability Canto on top of that, like all the other horseback units do. She gets the ability to wield swords, and she starts off with a D rank. I don't know what to make of giving her swords. If I would give her a sword, it would be a magic-based sword, and the problem with that is the lowest level sword that is magic-based off the top of my head, which I show here later, is the Sonic Sword. And that is a B-ranked weapon, so unless you've got a bunch of arm scrolls lying around, or you want to somehow try to train her in swords, really I would not recommend it. If you want to put one on her, if you've got a unit that's got, like, let's say for Mist, you give her a sword and 3 other heal stabs, the sword will always be equipped even if you've just healed. So if you want to counter somebody that hits you, you know, by all means go for it. If you want the extra slot for your staff, then go for it. I honestly really would say it's not worth it. I tried using her as an actual attacker to try to get her up to get the A-ranked sword, that's magic sword that we get later. And when she got it, it was very good for her. The problem is you get it pretty late. So honestly, would I recommend giving her swords and trying to train out for a magic sword? No, I wouldn't. I would say keep her on heal duty as you have been doing prior. So anyway, they asked if I wanted to upgrade to Windows 10 before this I'd run 7. And I said, you know what? I've already got it in here right now. The upgrade's still free. Let's go ahead and try it. But my only concern in doing this is that the programs that I used to record will not run. Sure enough, my hunch was right. They went ahead and upgraded it for me. I got it back. I don't have a problem with Windows 10. Like, actually using it, it was fine. The problem was when I went to go reinstall the drive for my capture card, the Diamond VC, or the Easy Grab, or whatever you want to call it, which is one of my 2 capture cards, but I need both of them to work, and I need to start using the other one again. I need to find one of the cables I'm missing for it. The drive, and I actually did check, I went, like, you know, actually delved into the program itself and the coding. The installation is not supported on Windows 10. It is able to do that on 8, 7, XP, Vista, like, pretty much anything between 95 and 8 for Windows. But no, not 10, so I was not able to install it. So I ended up going online, getting a copy of 7, a completely dry copy, it had the key, and installed it that way. The problem is with that, whenever you go to replace Windows 10 with 7 and you're actually doing it on your computer through the installation disk, it will ask you what kind of switch you want. And it said very clearly on screen that all of my drives would be saved. So anything like a graphics driver, a driver for your internet, for a very good example, would all be saved. So I said, yes, I want all these saved, and then I switched over. It did not save any of the drives. It was a completely clean file with nothing on it. So, since I'm not able to install the drives because I can't get on the internet, and the only other form of electronics in our house that can get internet are not, there's no laptop or desktop. I thought we had another laptop so I could transfer it over. No, all we had were iPads, iPhones, stuff that, that it doesn't support a USB, so you can't do that. So I had to go, take it back, have them reinstall drivers, which did not take very long. I knew it wouldn't take that long. I get it back again. Turns out, yes, the story continues. Turns out, as luck would have it, and I think here I'm about to end off, I might be ending off right here and cutting to the actual battle, and if I do, then you'll just hear a quick cut and I'll continue the story. They accidentally unplugged my Ethernet cable and left it out. They did not steal it. It was completely an accident. I understand it happens. But the Ethernet cable is what I need for my Wi-Fi. It's a mix of a booster on my computer so it can detect the signal more easily, but I also need it for it in general. If that's not plugged in, it's no internet. None. Absolutely none. So I have to go back and get the cable, and I get it back a couple days later because they're not open on Sunday, so I have to go back on Monday and get the cable. Problem is, if you'll remember again, all of my drivers were deinstalled, and this includes the driver that makes the internet cable run. Yes, this sounds stupid. It removed the driver that makes the internet cable run in order to connect to the internet. So at this point, I ended up just saying, screw it. I went over to a friend's house, I brought the cable with me, I checked the product code, found the download that I needed, and put the download onto a flash drive or USB stick, whatever you want to call it. Took the USB stick back, plugged that in, shifted that installation over to my computer, installed the installation, or put the installation on, actually installed it, and I finally got internet working. Problem is, once again, yeah, I know, it's a wonderful story, isn't it? The copy of Windows 7 that I installed was back in 2011 when they made the CD for it. So, I had to spend an entire day and night installing, and I am not making this number up, 212 updates, and then reinstalling 17 of those to get them updated again. By the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing right here, I am starting to craft my weapons for endgame. Right here I'm showing that attack and hit are primarily what you want to increase all the way. Critical's relatively important, it's not super necessary. I would try to get the weight down though on these silver weapons. What I'm doing is getting these ready for endgame because you can only forge one weapon per chapter. And after that you can't forge anymore. If you're used to Radiant Dawn, the sequel, you can forge as many as you want. Here, you don't get that luxury. Right here I'm trying to figure out what to name the sword so I can keep track of who's got what. But you will need weapons like this. You can outforge stabs, so you will not need weapons for the Lagoos because they don't use weapons, they use claws, teeth, whatever. You will not need for healers because you can't forge stabs. You'll not need it for Ike because he gets a special weapon, and anybody that's played Smash probably already knows what that weapon is. But you will not need one for him because it will not break. But everybody else, if they use lances, if they use swords, they use axes, they use bows, all those you want to forge. And if it's in particular a lance or an axe, I would try to also, if you can manage it, craft a throwing one as well, so your javelin-based weapon or your hand axe weapon, and try to get one of those as well. If not, you know, it's not the end of the world, but try to get as strong of a silver weapon as you can make, because hopefully your characters will have an A rank in whatever their, you know, whatever their weapon class is. I just ended up calling this, I'm pretty sure I called it Z-Metal, because I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I figured, Z-Metal tank, we'll just go with Z-Metal. But yeah, I'll be talking about that at a later point. So, I have to get all the updates installed because the copy of Windows 7 was actually, since it was like a default copy, and yeah, this is showing you can change the color if you change the name. If you choose to change the name and leave it the exact same, you can change the color anyway, but this only shows up in the battle animation, so it didn't really matter. And I just stuck in the convoy. The copy of it was actually so premature that I had to download stuff because I was not getting a window on my capture card. I'll explain more of this whenever we actually get into the fight. Well, no, we've got this cutscene right here. We're alright. We're alright. So, as I pick the iPad that I'm just holding in my hand up off the ground, I would get the capture card. You've already hopefully seen, I'm going to assume you have, there's like a little window whenever I'm recording with my capture card, and it was completely black. There was no picture showing. I was getting audio. If I took a picture with the snapshot button, the picture showed up, and if I was recording, and after the recording was done, watched the recording showed up with the video on it. But whenever I was, like, you know, actually viewing it beforehand, nothing. So, if anybody has that problem, try installing any updates that your computer's trying to get, like, you know, just the typical Windows updater, because that might be it. I'm willing to bet most people watching this aren't having that problem, but that was what the problem was, so I installed that, and then finally got it fixed. I had to re-download a lot of stuff, you know, Camtasia, Audacity. It didn't take too long, but, you know, it was still a chore nonetheless. So, if things have been looking a little bit differently lately, just in how the video looks, it's because A, I upgraded from Camtasia Studio 7 to 8, and secondly, because I'm using a slightly different, what's the word? A slightly different preset. My preset got erased, so this is actually an MP4 file rather than a WMV. I typically went for those just because they were a lot faster in publishing, both to YouTube and from Camtasia to my desktop, you know, just rendering out the file whenever it was done. But if it looks a little bit better in quality, that's probably why. According to the picture size, it's 720 by 480. I need to actually check a video that I've posted like that to see if it is. But if the quality looks a little bit better, that's probably why. It's not like, you know, 1280 or anything crazy like that, but it's better than what it was, so. And honestly, for me personally, I think, really, to be perfectly honest with you, 720 is very good. 1080 is nice, but like it doesn't have to look that perfect. Like I don't know, maybe I'm just too old school or something. But either way, I believe right here I got sidetracked by something. I don't know what it is, but it's giving me time to tell this story. So I ended up having everything finished. So if things look a little bit different, that's why. But that is why it took me almost a month to get things back in order. And then, like, right after I got that done, my car had ended up having to go to the shop. Reason for that was the last time they tuned it up, apparently they put in something wrong, but my car was trying to go into all-wheel drive. And it's not a car that's supposed to go into all-wheel drive. So, for those of you that have ever driven a car, which, you know, some of my audience is not young enough for their license yet, whenever you've got your car in drive or in reverse, and your foot is not on the gas or the brake, it will naturally go forward or backward depending on what gear you have it set in. If I would turn the wheel all the way to the left or right while going in reverse, without my foot being on the gas or brake, it would not move at all. And whenever I was actually hitting the accelerator to start to get it going, it took a lot to get it going. Like, the pedal would have to be almost completely on the floor to get it going. And it would... Basically, it sounded like there was a missing axle. It wasn't that. It was some other ridiculous thing. But I ended up finally getting that fixed. I've got it back, but I've got to take it back in tomorrow because it's got the yearly inspection due on it. Technically, it's still got a month from now, but, you know, I should have just done it then because it's like, you know, it's already in the shop. It'll take not even half an hour probably, and then, you know, I won't have to worry about it for another 12 months. So, gotta do that again. It's a bit of a mess. So, I'm actually going to stop talking for a while and wait for the point where I'm actually starting to advance the dialogue again because I'm not seeing it here. So... Alright, so apparently I came back to reality at this point, so have fun cutting that just like 2.5 minutes of nothing but silence. That was weird. The future me will have fun cutting that out. That's not very hard to do. And Ike was being really creepy by going, yes. Oh, yes. Oh. Anyway. I completely forgot what I was going to say with that comment. I don't think I said that in the first recording of the video. I meant to make a joke about it, and then I didn't, but that time I did, so... Apparently, I was just not paying attention at all. I know at this point I was busy trying to get everybody to be calm and collected. I don't know what it is about my family is, like, everybody has a weird family, but mine, I swear my parents, like, trouble follows them just wherever they go. And I'll give you a good example of this while this is going on. For those of you that did not watch that update, my grandfather recently had knee surgery. He didn't fall or anything, he just, you know, had to get it replaced. The old wear and tear type of thing, you know. And so, this is about a week ago. We'll say a week, roughly. And so, I stayed overnight with him, because our family's adamant about making sure there's at least one person at all times in the room. You know, even in the middle of the night when somebody's actually trying to get sleep. But, you know, I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he's a really cool guy, you know. We get along great. Pretty much, you know, very similar personalities, kind of quirky, nerdy, you know. Not so much enjoying the bad puns, but, you know, we'll talk about anything. We can actually hold the discussion, even if it's something we don't know about, we'll actually bother to listen, that type of thing, which is very uncommon in our family. But had a completely quiet night, you know, nurses came in and checked on him every now and again, no problems, nothing. The second, and I do mean the second my parents walk in, just junk everywhere, like, you know, just having constant issues. There's, like, apparently some big emergency out in the hall. And then after that, you know, had other people come and visit at the same time, had a bunch of nurses that were trying to get around the bed. My parents weren't getting away from the bed because they wouldn't leave him alone, even though he wasn't having any issues. It was not good. It was a mess. Oh, that's weird. It sounded like I hit the A button in-game, and then the text didn't move. I know I'm about to hit it here, because I can see on the track that I'm watching, the audio is changing here in a second, so I know I'm about to. Like, I'm clearly about to hit something in about... Yeah, there we go. I was supposed to say, like, roughly 15 seconds or so. Because, yeah, the music was cutting out, that's what it was. It's easier to tell because, for those of you that don't know, I actually turned down the volume on the game a lot. Like, the volume you guys are hearing on the game is probably about 25%, roughly somewhere between a quarter and a third of the sound that gets projected from my capture card. It is incredibly loud. My speakers are on a scale from 1 to 100, and they're pretty good speakers. I only have one of them plugged in, which doesn't affect the audio quality that you guys are hearing because the capture card's has nothing to do with the speakers there. I only have one of them plugged in, and the game's volume can be heard from across my house on a 6. Out of 100, a 6. So it is always on 1 while recording, so I can at least hear the game if I need to. If I've got friends over and we're actually playing something, it might go up to 2, 3, maybe 4, but it's certainly not getting higher than 4. At 100, it would probably completely destroy the speaker. So yeah, you guys are not, and my volume's cranked up a fair amount, and something to do with Audacity. It's not crazy high. It's probably like, if 100% was just exactly what it started at, it probably is at like 125, 120 maybe. Regardless, as you can see, we are fighting in Talrega, and they have had the floodgates opened, and so it is completely destroying the pass to get past this area. So if we can get them closed, the area should recede.